SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first, then you act.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back, Spartan Nation Radio. We now bring in our weekly featured guest from thespun.com, the best sports aggregate site on the web. Thespun.com, their chief editor, publisher, poobah, whatever you want to call him, the great Matt Hladik. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well. I know it's good to be on with you guys.
Matt, we're going to be solid college football today, and let's go right at it. A former Michigan player, a mother, fires back at Jim Harbaugh in a big way, the Michigan coach, over some comments on mental illness. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Harbaugh had a lot of different things to say about the transfer process during Big Ten Media Days. And he spoke about he thinks players should be allowed to transfer once without penalty, so no redshirt year, nothing, one time in your college career. But he also, during the interview on ESPNU, spoke about players who say, you know, they have mental health issues or they're depressed, or, you know, they say when they transfer that was the reason why, and then they you know, attempt to gain a waiver to play immediately. Those comments didn't sit. He was basically saying, you know, he claimed he wasn't trying to downplay those issues, but was saying that there are some, you know, players who might try to abuse that by just saying, you know, they have mental health issues or things like that just to play right away. Those comments didn't sit well with mother of former offensive lineman James Hudson. It's not only is, you know, she said not only did they not sit well with her as a mother, but as a mental health professional, you know, because James Hudson currently is trying to play this year at Cincinnati after transferring from Michigan. He's said he's dealt with depression and mental health issues while at Michigan. He's claiming the NCAA is denying the waiver because he did not report those issues there. Jim Harbaugh came under some fire, not only from her, but from some other people in the media who felt that, you know, statements he made might reinforce some of the stigma around mental health and cause, you know, players who might be dealing with legitimate issues to, you know, keep it to themselves or not seek the help that they need. It was a interesting, you know, back and forth about that for a few days, stemming from some of his comments in Big Ten Media Days.
I have a question for you about Harbaugh, and you know I'm not a Harbaugh hater. He's 2-2 against Michigan State, 0-4 against Ohio State, 1-3 in bowl games. Then he comes out and takes his shots at Urban. Now, I want to say this. Jim Harbaugh didn't say anything that wasn't true, but if you're 0-4 against Michigan, you haven't been able to beat Urban, I keep my mouth shut. What do you think about his comments about Urban Meyer?
I think that they're great for us from a media perspective, giving us something to talk about, you know, during a little bit of a dead time of the year and giving us, you know, some good storylines. I tend to lean towards what you just said. I think that while pretty overall accurate, his comments, you look at the Urban Meyer controversy has followed him, you know, from Florida, Ohio State. There's no denying that. It's been well reported. I think that when you say that, even though it's technically true, you give off the vibe, you give off, you know, the kind of the indication of sour grapes, or you give, you know, you people can easily dismiss by saying, well, he's just saying those things because he's 0-4 against Ohio State and he's 0-4 against Urban Meyer. So I think that if I were Jim Harbaugh, I probably would have just kind of let that go by the wayside and not brought it up. But technically, he didn't really say anything that wasn't factually accurate.
Here's the only problem I have with it. Everything he said was accurate, but you're 0-4 against the guy and he just retired. Say that when he's still coaching.
That's true. And listen, I'm sure that there were some things said behind the scenes when you're recruiting against Ohio State, by not just Michigan, but by any other program about, some of the things that went on there or some of the things that what they might have, been facing under Urban Meyer, some of the scrutiny. But I do agree with you. It does look a little bit petty when you say that after the guy's retired, when he's beaten you 4 times and he's not around to compete against you this year.
We're talking to Matt Hladik, the grand poobah at one of the greatest sports aggregate sites on the web, thespun.com. Matt, another thing coming out of Big Ten Media Days was Scott Frost revealed a gross present from a Nebraska fan.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Scott Frost, the coach at Nebraska, revealed a gross present from a Nebraska fan.
Yes, Scott Frost, we talked about it here.
Matt, we lost you. Where'd you go?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Scott Frost, we talked about, he is the love in Nebraska. And the fan base could not be more jacked up to have him back coaching there. Somebody apparently was a little bit too excited, or I don't know what they were really thinking, but Scott Frost told the media that he received a pair of used boxers from a fan as some sort of memento or gift, or I'm not really sure what the fan was going for, but I heard of a lot of weird things or a lot of interesting things that coaches or players get sent from fans, sentimental value, but that one I just don't get.
What do you think of Jim Harbaugh's bold strategy for 2019?
I'm sorry, I actually did not write that article. What did he say about that one? I'm sorry.
Matt, how do you not know the articles on your site?
I didn't write that one.
Michigan has never really had a truly elite quarterback, and head coach Jim Harbaugh thought the Wolverines are close with former Ole Miss quarterback Shea Patterson. Harbaugh is planning for multiple quarterbacks to play in 2012. That surprised me a little bit.
I think it surprises me too, and I'm not a huge fan of playing multiple quarterbacks. I know that there are certain packages you could always use a guy in, goal line packages or certain trick plays or things specific to a certain opponent. It works strategically. I'm not a fan of mixing and matching quarterbacks. I know we've seen some schools do it over the years and function okay. I think that when you do that, you're always bound to have you could be leaning towards some type of controversy based off, fans thinking that one guy should play more than the other, or one guy got too many reps this week while another guy, got too few. Also, you get into the rhythm standpoint of a quarterback getting their rhythm broken by, having the reps cut up during a game. I would be interested to see how Harbaugh does that. I'm sure they'll win a few games this year, big, where he'll be able to get Dylan McCaffrey into the game, just organically in the flow of the game. But if he really is moving and mixing and matching quarterbacks, I think it could backfire.
What did you think about a former Michigan player's lengthy message about Jim Harbaugh? I thought that was interesting. That was an article you wrote, by the way.
Yes. That was about Jared Wangler, former fullback in Michigan, just graduated, I believe, this year. He played 5 years, came in under Brady Hoke, but finished under Harbaugh. And he stepped up and he had Jim Harbaugh's back. I think Henry Pochi also, there was a tweet in there so that Wangler responded to from Henry Pochi, another former player at Michigan, basically backing up Jim Harbaugh. Jared Wangler said that Harbaugh always had his players back. He did not poo-poo or downplay mental health. And he had a quote about keyboard warriors and mediocre writers or something like that who are setting the narrative, and he said it was inaccurate. So he really came to Harbaugh's defense against, some of the comments that he was facing from media members or outsiders, and James Hudson's mother about how he handled mental health and the nature of the comments that we spoke about earlier from Media Day.
Last question from me, and we're going to get you out of here. What was your general thoughts about Big Ten Media Day?
It's funny. I saw the conversation about Media Days on Twitter, and I was going back and forth on it. I do think that in some ways, and I think we've spoken about this before in the past, Media Days have lost a little bit of luster from what they used to be. I think partially because of the 24/7 news cycle. There's different, you don't necessarily need to just get each coach or players in front of you to find out information nowadays, or to have storylines, or to drum up interest in the program, because there's something that's happening every day that gets covered in the news, or is on Twitter, or is on other forms of social media that fans partake in, and it gets them drawn into the program. I remember covering Media Days even 8-9 years ago, which is not that long ago at all. But when social media wasn't as big of a presence as it is now, and things were a little bit different, where Media Days I felt like were a bigger deal, because they really kind of set the tone for the upcoming season. And it was a huge deal to get all the conference in one place, and to kind of sort through all the storylines, and to build ahead for the following season. Now I think you did lose some of its luster than it had, but I do think it's still a fun part of the summer. And I think that when you look at some of the storylines that came out of Big Ten Media Day,
overall, I think it's great to see what's going on in college football. Thanks for joining us, everybody. He is the one, the only, the great Matt Hladic from the Spun.